Hello, everyone, and welcome to this stream. Today, we'll be learning all about Devtron, very interesting tool. There are a lot of things that we'll be discussing. There is a lot of excitement about this, a lot of excitement around the project, why it actually exists, and what all is happening in this particular ecosystem, why Devtron exists, and what it actually is, what problem it is trying to solve, and how do we use it, and what are some of the features that you will be getting. So there's a lot that we'll be covering about Devtron today. And if you are new to the channel, my name is Sayed Bartak. I am a CNCF ambassador and director of technical evangelism at Civo, building the next gen cloud platform, simplifying Kubernetes for you. And today I'm joined by Prashanth, who is from Devtron, building the product and simplifying things in that ecosystem. So it's very good to have you, Prashanth, on the stream. Thank you so much for joining in and doing this on this show. So welcome you to the stream. Please introduce yourself to the community.
Thank you, Sayum, for having me here. Actually, I'm a big fan of the work that you are doing because I believe this open source system. I believe in open source system. I have not been a contributor for a long time, but once I started contributing, I understood the strength of it, right? And because of that, the work that you're doing, trying to make sense of out of so many open source products which exist, as well as trying to make them, providing a channel for people to sort of know about the open source system. That's really credible job. So thanks a lot for doing this, and thanks a lot for having us over here. So to tell you briefly about me, so I am by education, I'm an engineer as well as an MBA. So I did my MBA from IIM Bangalore, but it was my sheer love for programming because of which I'm back into the coding space, right? So I have been in this industry for like 15 to 20 years, but I yet code. There are 11, 12 different languages in which I code because I just love it. I can't get over it, right? Before this, before I started this Devtron, I was heading technology at Ixigo, which is the sixth most used travel app in the world. I was heading technology, which means DevOps, AI, data science, backend. All of those teams were reporting into me. QA as well was reporting into me, and I made quite large scale changes in Ixigo while being over there. And that was also the genesis of the idea that we are going to talk about today, where I'll cover more as to how I came about this idea. But that's like briefly about me, what I do and what I enjoy doing.
So awesome. So we have a lot of engineers and a lot of folks who have tuned in, a lot of cloud native enthusiasts, a lot of people from diverse backgrounds that have joined us. And that's what I love about the open source community. Everyone around the globe, around the universe is coming together from different backgrounds, different ecosystems, and collaborating for the betterment of the technology, solving problems that are there in the industry by creating new solutions, which is just amazing. So today also we have so many folks who have joined in. Hello everyone who are there, and yes, please do. So few things before we just get started. So if you're new to the channel, please do subscribe, because that's what keeps me motivated to do more. So you can subscribe to sayampathak.com/YouTube. If you are watching it on Twitch, then please do a follow over there. And what you do is, meanwhile you're watching the stream, you'll be learning a lot of things. So Twitter threads have been very good in seeing what you have learned. So, and a lot of people have done it with the streams that I have done in the past. So try to create Twitter threads if you are on Twitter, that what you have learned from the stream or what you are learning from the stream, that that gives me a sense, okay, the streams are going the right way, so that I keep continuing the same format. And if any suggestions are there, then just let me know. I'll try to improve, because we all keep on improving, just like a product in open source world. So let me know what all things work for you, how you learn, what you learn from today's stream, and tag me and Prashanth as well, so that we know what you are learning on the stream. And yeah, today we'll be discussing all about Devtron. Very interesting product. So Devtron team reached out to me, and I just skimmed through it, and I really liked it. And immediately we scheduled a date and a time, and we got this particular stream scheduled. And today here we are. We'll be discussing all about this, and what is Devtron, what problem it is trying to solve, some of the features. Prashant told me like the whole feature demo would take around 2 to 3 hours. So he'll be combining some of the features, or going do a rush through of some of the features, so that we can cover most of the things, good chunks, within the limited time that we are having. And also there'll be a section, a very important one, like contributing to Devtron, which is really important. Like, you come here to learn, as well as you will be implementing, and then you will be contributing back, because that's how the whole open source ecosystem works. And I see more and more folks, people want to contribute more. So that's really good. That enthusiasm is really good. So now, without wasting any time, and yeah, in the end, we'll also have some swag giveaways. So we are not doing the form which I do in the streams. So we'll do it differently, and I'll improvise in the end and see how we'll do the swag giveaways. So we'll be doing around 4 or 5 swag giveaways in the end. Thanks to Devtron for sponsoring that. And in the end, I'll let you know how this will turn out to be. So stay tuned till the end. You have to you come here for learning, and you can go with swags, as simple as that. And with that, Prashanth, I would say let's get started.
Sure.
So basically, the
Thanks,
first
Sayum.
thing would be like, what are the problems in the ecosystem that you as a team, or maybe you individually, sat down with a group of friends and thought
Right.
like, okay, these are specific problems, and why why we should need a new product itself to solve this.
Right. Right. So very interesting question, Sayam. So I have been involved with technology for quite a long time now, and that too with the startups. So I have been with the smaller startups, I have been with bigger startups, but startup is another passion for me, similar to technology. So when I was with smaller startups at that time, also I felt the pain of DevOps, right? So there are so many open source tools which are available, but they are difficult to configure. There is a lot of learning. They are verticalized. I'll go more into detail in a bit. But because of that, what we were seeing was we were facing problems with the DevOps. Of course, we were smaller, so we didn't care much, because let's say if I have a like 30-minute outage, I don't have too many customers to worry about, right? So there are small customers, they are passionate customers, they are coming to me, they'll stay with me, they understand the pains of a small startup, so they'll not sort of go away, or most of them would not go away, right? Then when I started working with larger startups, for example, Exigo, which is the sixth most used, as I was saying, which is the sixth most used travel app in the world, it was like most used or second most used train app in India, right? So I was heading technology over there. Uh, uh, Very great piece of architecture was written over there. Very optimized code was written over there. So very less cost for very high throughput. And I joined there in 2016. And after a few months, when we decided to move to Kubernetes, uh, I again sort of relearned things from scratch. So I had always believed that why do we need to sort of have unique fingerprints for each infrastructure, right? So if you go to one company, the way they are doing deployment would be very different compared to another company, all right? And this would keep on happening. And I always thought like, why is it this way? It is not how it should be. And when I looked at Kubernetes, I was overjoyed, because now I could see that I'm not sort of dealing with the operating systems directly, but I was dealing with a well-defined set of APIs via microservice, which essentially meant that I can create a uniform interface for everyone to interact with. But when our journey with this Kubernetes started, we looked at a lot of open source products, right? In 2017, also there were considerable open source products which existed. Some of them have become huge today. But what I saw was the same problem that I had always been facing. So there are a lot of products, but they are not across the complete life cycle of the DevOps, right? So they are verticalized products. So they are looking at one portion. For example, I may be a product which is great at CI. I may provide some mechanism to do CI, but that's not my core competence. Then I am a product which is good at CD, but I have nothing to do with CI. Then there is another product which has to do with observability, but CD and CI don't understand observability, and vice versa, right? So same is the case with security. So security, great products, but totally isolated products compared to others. So this is what I kept on seeing, right? So if I looked at the horizontal view of the DevOps chain, I saw that great vertical products which would not talk to each other, and and DevOps team would be spending a lot of time writing glue code between them, which of course would have a lot of domain knowledge in it. It's not something which people can use or developers can use just like that, because developers understand their domain, but they don't understand the infrastructure domain very well, at least for most of them, right? So this was really resulting in a lower efficiency or productivity of them, and frustration also to a certain level, right? Because let's say there is an issue, you have to copy one thing, you have to go to another one, paste over there, search over there, then maybe copy something else, move to third place and do it, right? So this whole cycle was very, very inefficient. And to add to that, the vertical abstractions which we were having, right? So this is a horizontal thing that we are talking about. Then vertically, when we look at it, we say that, oh, we have the hardware, then we have the cloud providers, now we have the Kubernetes, and then we have the application, right? So there are multiple abstractions layers that we have, and things can go wrong at any level, right? So for example, I'm deploying an application. Maybe cluster autoscaler needs to scale up, and cluster autoscaler increase the desired count, but let's say there were spot instances which were not available, right? Or that instance family was not available for some reason. Now, so at multiple level of abstractions, the problems are happening, right? So how do you make sense across this vertical stack? And because of these two reasons, another thing that we were seeing was that the user management was broken, right? So there are great open source tools, but they are not focusing on user access management. And even if they are, most of the time it would be paid, right? So this was the general pattern that we were seeing. And because of that, we figured out that the productivity of the developers as well as the DevOps team is not where it should be, right? And that pain resonated with us, and that's why we thought of Devtron, right? So how we thought that we can solve this problem is, all of us are from this space, so all of us would have heard of a document DB versus MongoDB, right? So wherein MongoDB is a big company, very popular database, and then Amazon came out with document DB. Because of some licensing constraint, they came out with document DB, which used the same API as the MongoDB, and they said that you can directly start using us. You don't have to make any changes in the code that you have written from the developer side, but you can start pumping data to us directly, and it would just work like it was working with MongoDB, right? So what we were seeing was that the same API was being ported across, right? And we took it to an extreme, wherein we are saying that if we want to solve the problem that we were talking about, we should have a uniform set of API which works across the life cycle of the application, as well as you should be able to switch in and situate things very fast, right? So what it essentially means is, let's say today I'm using product A for a particular activity in DevOps. Tomorrow product B comes in. I feel that there is a substantial advantage in product B compared to product A, or even the version of product A gets improved. It becomes a big task for us to migrate to that particular new software, right? So this thing should be seamless, right? So if I'm defining that how my CD should work with GitOps, I don't care whether it's Argo CD, it's Flux, or it's something else which comes up tomorrow and become immensely popular, right? So that was the idea, wherein we are saying that you should be able to swap in and swap out things, and for you nothing changed because you are interacting with the same interface with which you were interacting earlier, right? So that was one thing that we thought is important for the system that we are building. The second thing that we thought is important is that product should be modular. Why it should be modular? Because as a DevOps, we have built and set up a lot of systems already. Now, if Devtron is coming in or another product is coming in, I don't want to swap out everything, right? So I have already done something in CI, it's working. Maybe there is another better way to do it, but it's working. I don't want to touch it, right? So it should not be a case wherein if Devtron comes in, you're saying, oh, please don't do CI, migrate everything to Devtron, or whatever that XYZ product is, right? So that is why we wanted to make things modular, so that you take one piece and fit it into your system based on what problem you're facing. And then you can incrementally keep on adding more, right? So for example, today you may feel that, oh, I am not able to do GitOps properly. I'm just doing a kubectl apply, but not a GitOps. You use us to just for the CD portion tomorrow you say, oh, my cost is high, so why can't I use Devtron's other functionality for cost optimization or for security, right? So you adopt things incrementally rather than making it a 0 or 1 game, right? And third thing that we believed is that if you look at the DevOps ecosystem or even the open source ecosystem, what we have seen most is that you would get a CLI for free. Maybe things will understand YAML, uh, and they are available for free. But once you go to a UI kind of UI kind of an interface which focuses on the user experience, which don't expect you to know a lot about the domain or learn a lot about the domain, those things are either not done properly because companies are not putting product management effort behind the user interface. They are putting product management effort behind the API definition, but they are not putting product management effort behind the UI definition or UX definition, right? So, and we believe that that's something which is very, very critical again for the productivity enhancement. So you should be able to provide the flexibility. So if what people want to do, system should not restrict them. But at the same point of time, they don't need to learn tons of things, do a certification to say that, oh, I can use this product, right? And this will automatically result in a self-serve kind of a model, wherein people can come and use it. It's not that, oh, if I want to change something, then, oh, Sayyam is the expert in that domain, so I need to approach Sayyam. Sayyam may be busy with other things and may be able to do it, like, let's say, after 2 days. Right? So I should be able to go ahead and make the changes as long as I'm permitted to do it, and as long as it is within the boundary of the permission which is provided by Sayyam to me, right? So this is how we look at it. The other way that we put it is to say that our open source product should be able to give users the SaaS experience, right? The experience which is provided by SaaS products today without the lock-in of a SaaS product. So because we are integrating with other open source commercial products a lot, in certain cases we have built our own open source and commercial products to do certain things when we believe that the products which exist are not that great, or they are primarily commercial, they don't exist in the open source space. In those cases, we have built them also and released them in open source. I'll talk about them also a bit later on. But idea is that even if you don't want to use our product for doing that particular activity, doesn't matter. You can connect with any other open source and closed source product if you want to. So essentially, it means that tomorrow, if you want to junk Devtron, your life doesn't change. You can just junk Devtron and everything works for you, even though Devtron is an open source system. Right? So this is the vision with which we are moving forward in our sort of pursuit of creating the Devtron, which is we believe is the right product for DevOps and the development team.
Yeah, I think that's pretty interesting to see that you are looking at the complete life cycle with all the products integrated, and also, like, things are pluggable, things are not too much dependent, things are like based on the user experience, which is very good. So I think most of the pieces are getting thought of, which is good. And I think this initial analyzation, this initial brainstorming is very important. Obviously, you might have done it for a longer period of time, because that's where you see, okay, because creating a product obviously takes a lot of time, and then you have to analyze the current market and the future one as well, the near future one, not very much, because cloud native ecosystem is changes very rapidly. So but still, like, the main focus areas of keeping it simple, packaging it well, including the whole life cycle of the DevOps life cycle, and focusing on the user experience, UI UX designs. And I think that's the vision looks very good, in my opinion. And I think some of the people also in the chat also agrees that very interesting solution which focuses on UI UX as well. So that sounds cool, to be honest.
Thank you.
So yeah, let's see how the architecture looks like and how it actually works.
Right. So to be very honest, over here I have cheated a bit, right? So uh, there are like 15, 20 different microservices which get installed in the system, depending upon what you want to do, right? So if you want to use the complete capability of Devtron, then there are like a suite of microservices which get deployed, and it would have been difficult for me to show like which jigsaw puzzle, which pieces fit where in the jigsaw puzzle, right? So this probably architecture would have become very, very complex, and I would have not been able to cover it properly, or people would have not been able to understand. So what I've done is I've sort of broken it broadly into three different aspects, right? So so the first aspect for us is the public interface. So public interface is essentially saying that uh, what people will interact with, right? So people will interact with either with the UI or they will interact with the API, right? Why they would interact with the API? If you want to sort of integrate with the system programmatically, for example, uh, you already have a CI system on Jenkins, and you want to leverage that CI system and not sort of move the CI to Devtron immediately, then you can send a webhook to us once the CI is done, and we can take care from them. So that's where the API interface also becomes important, right? So these are the two places where we are publicly faced, right? Public face, right? So people or machines can interact with us. Below them are the components and services. So the components and services are something which we believe is very, very core to us. We had to write these systems because they are like very tightly coupled with the way we do things, right? Over here, things would be like access control systems. There would be things which are related to deployment metrics, right? So again, if you look at it, most of the softwares which exist, uh, deployment metrics is part of their paid feature, but we have made it open source. But again, so deployment metrics is a very core part of it. Notification is a core part of it. So there are the interaction with the Git is a core part of it. So these are the components which are core part of Devtron, right? So they are required because for the Devtron to work efficiently. And then below them are the interfaces. So as I was saying, so you can switch in and switch out the open source systems, right? So these are the interfaces uh, with which Devtron sort of works with those open source or commercial systems. If you want policy, maybe Devtron has its own policy software also, but let's say you don't want Devtron software. Let's say you want to use Kyverno or you want to use OPA, works, right? So that's the interface portion wherein we are saying that this system deeply integrates with the open source and commercial products. How we prioritize with which to sort of interface is based on the popularity, right? So uh, uh, whichever we look at the ecosystem and say, okay, these are more popular, we start integrating with them, and then uh, over time we'll sort of keep on expanding those integrations, right? So these are the so this is at a high level we think this is how we think of a different system, different components within our system, right? If you look at the bottom part of it, these are the four things which are like dash dash dash. So these are the integrators where we have yet not started working. This is where we'll start working. So this is again some of the things where the help, if anybody would want to sort of contribute, want to contact us and figure out how they can help us, would be great. Another place where I think people can sort of immediately start helping us would be, and we'll come to that section later, but I think uh, since we have like great people over here who are excited about open source, let me sort of try to sort of have them help us. So for the interface, again, integrations. If you believe that there is a product with which we have yet not integrated, but it's a great piece of software which we should be integrating with, please open a case with us or issue with us, or you can also help us sort of get started integrating with that particular product. Right? So, and our system is a multi-cluster system. With one installation of Devtron, you can connect to any Kubernetes cluster. Ajay, so one thing I want to be clear about is that we work only with Kubernetes, right? So let's say if you are not using Kubernetes, then Devtron cannot help you. We took this as a cautious call. The reason being that, as I was saying earlier, that Kubernetes gives us a nice set of APIs, because of which we are able to give that experience to the people. If we go back to the previous world where we don't have those nice set of APIs, uh, then everything starts breaking apart, right? So that's why we thought that okay, Kubernetes is something where we can actually solve this problem, and that's what we should stick with, rather than trying to sort of broaden ourselves and do a suboptimal job with each one of them. Right? So coming back to it, so our system, one installation of Devtron can talk to any number of Kubernetes clusters, and those Kubernetes clusters can be installed anywhere, right? So they can be on-prem, they can be OpenShift, they can be Google, Azure, AWS, Alibaba, or anything else, right? So that's how this system works at 1,000 feet level.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting. So basically, we have few layers in the architecture. Obviously, we have a number like 15 to 20 microservices that you have actually skipped, so that it's not too much for the people who are watching for the first time and understanding the product, because at first we need to see like what the product offers at the base level. So there's a UI interface with which the users will actually interact and do stuff, and then there are the components and services that would be the microservices that are deployed onto the cluster, and you have then the integrations. Now this is where it's the most interesting part, because you can pick and choose for a particular solution different integrations that Devtron has already integrated with. So how does that integration works? Like, I mean, does it comes like if the community is requesting, or it is only based on the decision of the Devtron team, or the community plays a very important role in finalizing that? Okay, we need
Right.
like example, like for the policy you mentioned Kevin and Opa, so now there's another one, Cube Warden by
Right.
Suse and Bradshaw. So I did a stream on that as well. But now that is just begun, and it is started to pick space because it is in the Wasm space. So kind of very exciting and new, because something like that has not been done before. And so how do we plan that?
Right. So for us, it's primarily through community, right? So if let's say community is prioritizing a particular thing, then we will pick it, right? So for example, uh, and we have gotten features which we never thought of even, right? So for example, I'll come to what an application is in our system, but what we were not allowing was to put labels and tags to it, right? Like AWS and everything else provide, you can put labels and tags to resources. We were not allowing it, right? Open source community opened an issue with us and prioritized it up, right? So we are currently working on fixing it, and most probably next week or week after that we'll come out with a feature which allows community to do it. So for us, community is at the heart of it. If they prioritize something, if they tell us using their thumb that okay, this is what we want, then that's what we do.
Yeah, so that is great. And also you said like once one instance of Devtron, you can connect multiple clusters. So, and it works only with Kubernetes. So I am assuming that it will work with any Kubernetes distribution
Yes,
as well.
that's
Okay,
correct. That's correct.
cool. And there was one question which, let me just, yeah, Suman is asking like, does Devtron offers a SaaS offering to cloud native solution?
So we do have an offering which is a managed offering, but right now there is no difference in the feature, and it's never gonna be a difference of the feature, right? So the way we look at it is to say that this is a managed versus non-managed. So if you want us to manage, wherein we ensure that whenever a new version of Devtron comes in, it becomes available. If there is a security issue, it gets patched immediately, right? So those kind of managed things you want us to do, then that's what we charge you for. And we manage the complete Devtron installation, providing you an SLA, KT, and those kind of things, right? But there is no difference in the feature or functionality per se. Everything which is available to a company which is paying us, and there are a couple of unicorns who are paying us, uh, is available to any other company who is not paying us, right? So there is zero difference between them. But yes, we do offer a managed service.
Cool. Yep. Let's continue with the maybe the feature set.
Sure. So just one point that I want to mention over here also is that this is something that we are working on right now. So the idea for us is to say that, let's say if you already have a piece of software which you are using, we should be able to deeply integrate with them. So for example, let's say if you're using Argo CD for GitOps, it should not be that you can use Argo CD with GitOps only if you install it via Devtron, right? If you have Argo CD across multiple clusters, already installed, already doing things, you should be able to connect it to Devtron just like that and work with it. That is a work in progress feature for us right now. When you install Devtron, it comes with Argo CD. For example, if you select that I want Argo CD, it will come with an Argo CD. So that's a bit difference, but yeah, that's the direction that we are moving in. I just wanted to highlight
No,
that thing
that's
also
very
over here.
important because I mean detecting. Yeah, I know it's
Yeah,
a bit challenging, like detecting what is actually running in the cluster because
right,
you never know which namespace you will be running that particular that particular application or things like that. So I think interesting to see like how you'll be
right,
detecting some of the applications that you have integrations with and seeing how that works
right,
pre-integrated with the platform.
right. Right, because see, again, this is all because of the beauty of Kubernetes, right? So if you look at Argo CD, if you look at Flux or any other, most of them, or Tecton CD, for example, most of them are leveraging are cloud native, right? So they have their own CRDs which gets deployed and which gets leveraged, right? So with Kubernetes, the discovery itself becomes much more easier. Of course, I'm not trivializing it, but it's possible for you to access the CRDs which are available, the capabilities that they provide, and that sort of takes away a bit of a pain for you to provide that ease of use. Perfect. So with that, let me talk about the features uh, that Devtron has. Again, this is part of the features that we support. I thought that this is something which might be interesting for the community, and that's why I've brought them out over here. I'll be taking you through the demo for them also in a bit. So like quickly talking about them, I'll talk about the Helm chart management, wherein how you can manage your Helm chart via Devtron, how you can do a blue, green, and canary deployment without even using any Istio or any service mesh. It's just a pod-based blue, green, and canary deployment that you can do. Of course, multi-clusters and multi-cloud support I already talked about. Then we have an integrated observability. This essentially means that you are able to watch the CPU, RAM, HTTP status code, errors, latency for an application within the application itself. So you don't have to sort of, let's say, go to XYZ place to check those things. When you're looking at the microservice, those informations will be available to you as graph. You can compare between the older and the newer deployments so that you can take call as to what's working, what's not working. And then access management, uh, uh, basically across the life cycle, we are controlling the access now. And that is why, and that's what we allow you to configure from just one place, Devtron. And then I'll talk about a centralized caching. So we have our own CI system, which does a centralized caching, which essentially means that you can have infinite scaling, right? So usually, if you look at okay, so let me come talk more about it when we talk about the CI. And then we have Hibernation. So Hibernation essentially is to save cost, right? So uh, you have HPA in Kubernetes, but HPA doesn't scale to 0, 1, right? Second thing is HPAs are attached to one application. They are not attached to multiple applications, because of which you, for let's say for a QA environment or for a dev environment, they are not the best solutions to sort of save cost. In fact, most of the time you will not even activate HPA on QA environment. You will just deploy with one single instance, right? So Hibernation is something which helps you cost over there. Then we have hierarchical security policies, which essentially means that you can define security policies at multiple levels. It's not just you define it at the lowest level, right? So there is a whole hierarchy, and based on that hierarchy, the security policies get applied and they get enforced. Right? So I'll talk about these when I'll start the demo. Right. So over here now I'll start with the demo. Just before that, let me talk briefly about installation. So if you go to docs.devtron.ai, here we talk about installing it. You can install it with Helm 3, Helm 2, and kubectl. Uh, you can so it's very simple to install. You just need to add the Devtron repository, and then you just need to run the install command. How it does internally is basically this Helm chart installs an operator in your infrastructure, and that operator knows uh, how microservices are related to each other, which value is to be populated from one microservice into another microservice, and those kind of things it knows. And that's how it configure the complete Devtron system within your infrastructure. Upgrading that is again easy. You just need to change the tag version upgrade. It's a bomb. It's kind of represent a bomb. So if you update that tag, all the relevant microservices will get updated, and again it will ensure that whatever configuration you did previously, so custom overrides that you did, are in place. uh, this because we install a couple of microservices, as I was saying, like 15 odd microservices, 15 or 20 odd microservices get installed. It takes like 20 to 30 minutes for it to get up and running. So that is why I'm not gonna demo the complete installation over there. You can below over there we have also mentioned what are the different customized configurations that you can do for different things. For example, if you want to, let's say for the ingress of Devtron, you want to add annotations, or you want to add some taints to it or affinities to it, right? So all those taint tolerance and affinities, all of those customizations are possible, and it retains them, right? So that's briefly about installation. Uh, of course, we have a Discord channel, so if you install it, you run into any issues, please feel free to sort of ping us. We work with AWS, we work with Azure, we work with on-prem. With GCP, we have tested it once, but we are not testing it very actively with GCP right now. And the primary reason for that is that from the community, we haven't heard a lot of requests for GCPs, and that is why we are not actively testing it right now. We haven't tested it right now with GCP a lot. But yeah, this is basically about the installation. With this now, let me jump to the demo. So first, I'll tell you briefly about once you install Devtron, there are a few basic configurations that you need to do on Devtron, right? So there is something called a host URL. We auto detect the host URL. We show it to you. You just need to sort of select it. Why we need a host URL is primarily because when you are uh, using the API interface for us, then at places we would suggest you which URL you should be using. So if we know the host, then we can suggest you the complete URL. Otherwise, we don't know what the host is, so we'll not be able to suggest you the complete URL. That's the only reason why we need a host. Then we work via GitOps. So you need to provide us the GitOps configuration. Currently, we support three. We support GitHub, GitLab, and Azure for GitOps. So based on the configuration, so you don't have to provide us repo for every single microservice, right? So if let's say I have a payment microservice and I have a search microservice, you don't have to provide me two different Git repos. What we do is, as a Devtron, we completely abstract out the Git interaction for you, including repo creation, pushing into repo. All of those things are controlled by Devtron. You are not interacting with Git at all when you're doing a GitOps via Devtron, right? So this is the GitOps that you need to configure. Project, we already by default put one project, which is called the Devtron project. We already added that. What is a project for you? Project essentially is a group of microservices, right? So usually it happens in a company that there would be a team which would be managing multiple microservices. So what it does, it makes it easier for you to configure applications for team members across those applications, right? Clusters and environment. This is the place where I was talking about. You can do a multi-cluster. We can do a multi-cluster deployment. So you need. So if there is a cluster where you want Devtron to deploy, you need to sort of add those configurations over here. You also need to sort of add the Prometheus URL over here. so that we can get the observability data to show to you. Right now, we only integrate with Prometheus. We don't integrate with any other DB for observability data right now. So this is what it is. The multi-cluster and the environment configuration. So this is another thing that you will have to do. By default, we already uh, configure for the local cluster. So the cluster on which Devtron is already installed, you don't have to do any configuration for that. Only thing that you have to configure is the Prometheus URL. Apart from that, you don't need to configure anything else for the cluster on which Devtron is already deployed. It can do installations and everything by default. Then you need to connect Git accounts. By default, we provide connection with the GitHub public, but you can connect to any of the Git accounts. These Git accounts are the places where your source code resides. So when you would be creating a CI, at that point of time you will be selecting these credentials to pull code from the repository, right? So this is not for GitOps. Earlier, Git configuration was for GitOps. This is for the source code pull and source code configuration. And then you'll have to configure the Docker registry. So this Docker registry is essentially the place where you will push the images once the CI is done, right? So, and then other things like chart repositories. This is optional. Chart repositories is if you want to pull chart from particular repository, you connect that over here. We support these SSO logins, so Google, GitHub, Microsoft, LDAP. If you want to use them for authentication, you can do that. All of this is available in open source. You can use that. This is the user access that I was talking about. You can add user over here. You can give them access for particular project, environments, applications, and you can define what kind of access you want to give. We have pretty fine granularity of access. I'll not go into detail over here, but we have pretty fine granularity of access, which can sort of take care of all the use cases for you. Right? So, for example, let's say if there is a junior guy who has come in, you can just give him a trigger access. He cannot change the configuration. Only thing he can change is the image name, and that too only for the image which is created from the branch that you have predefined. Right? So, for example, if you have said that production can be deployed from master, then he can select image for deploying to production, only image which has been created from the master branch. And this is essentially notifications. You can send Slack notifications, email notifications for the CI, CD, or any other thing which is happening within the system. So now let me quickly talk about the Helm chart management. Right. So as I was saying, so you configure the Helm charts and we pull configure the Helm chart repositories and we pull Helm charts from there. What we do is then we provide certain functionalities on top of Helm charts, which makes your life easier. So what we do is, one of the things that we do is we allow you to group the charts. So what happens is whenever you create a new cluster, you may want to deploy certain things on that. For example, you may want to deploy, let's say, an ingress, Nginx as an ingress. You may want to deploy EFK stack on it. You may want to deploy Prometheus on it, right? So there are a couple of Helm charts that you may want to deploy on them whenever a new microservice comes in. So what you can do is you can create a group of these multiple Helm charts, and whenever a new cluster comes in, you can just deploy them in one shot, and it works for you. About the configuration, there is another thing that we provide, which is again different than other places where Helm chart you might be able to manage Helm charts. So, for example, what we allow you to do is, okay, I might be having it for Postgres. Okay, I don't have. So what I can do is essentially I can create a custom value. So for example, I think that ABCD is the right configuration for this chart. So for example, let's say there is a chart which by default creates service as a load balancer. Now I don't want service as a load balancer because it will add cost to my system. So what I can do is I can just say that, let me show it to you. So I can just say, I can just say that I can just change the values.yaml for that particular one. So I do a manage, I do a create custom. I may say that Doku node port, and over here I go and change the values.yaml, right? So over here it says type is load balancer. I say type is cluster IP, and then it says here I can define the node port. So let's say I say 32280, and I say 32243, right? And then I just save it, and this template can be used by anyone later on, and they can override values on it, but those overridden values will not be written back to the original template, right? So this makes sharing of good configurations across the teams very, very easy, as well as because you can see the deployments. So these are all the charts which have been deployed through Devtron. You can see them over here. You don't have to worry about, okay, which is the configuration that I had applied for this particular chart on this environment. Everything is available over here, right? So which version you have deployed, which chart values.yaml you have deployed, everything is available over here. You can get that from Helm, but that's still like nasty. Over here, it becomes very, very easy for you to look at these things. Okay. So that's essentially briefly about the main things about Helm chart that we provide. Now, coming to the application. So what we can do is so let's say I want to deploy an application. It's very easy for us to deploy an application. So I'll just put a name for the application that I want to deploy. It's a project to which I believe that this application should belong. Now, what I need to provide is I need to provide a Git repo. I have this repo. Let's do this. I have this repo which is available with me. This repo is publicly accessible, so I can say this is a GitHub public repo. I just provide the URL. I say just save it. This will save. This is from where it will pull the code, right? Then I have to select a Docker repository to which it will push the Docker image which will be created. I save that over here. This is the deployment template where you need to configure the values and the access values that you want for the configuration. We are also coming out with a feature wherein you would be able to augment this chart on the fly. So let's say you already have a Helm chart within your organization which you want to use. And let's say out of that there are a few components which are not included in it. For example, let's say you're using Ambassador, which is not configured in this chart. You will be able to augment that directly in the chart on the fly. So that's another functionality that we are coming with. I think it should be live in like 3 to 4 weeks. Now I save this configuration. So this is the values.yaml that I've selected, and I save this configuration over here. If I want HTTP status codes and other things to be sort of shown for this, then I activate it. How we do it internally is that we have configured an optimized NY, and that NY is placed as a sidecar during the deployment, right? So it's not happening on the fly in the sense that there is no mutating webhook controller which is sitting inside the cluster and which is doing it. What we are doing is we are saying that because deployment is controlled by us, so if you want these things, we will put a optimized NY. So what happens is because of that, it becomes very, very easy for you to override the configurations of the for the NY for this particular application, right? So for example, you are using HTTP2, you have certain idle timeout requirements, right, which to sort of optimize it. You can just do it from here. There is no centralized piece of software that you have to worry about. Okay? So this is essentially configuration. This is what I have configured right now is a global configuration. What it means is that this configuration will be applied to all different environments across, right? So if you are deploying the same application to dev, you are deploying the same application to QA, you are deploying the same application to production, this configuration will be applied across. You can override them specifically for a particular environment, right? So I'll just show how we can do it in a bit. Before that, let me create a CI. CI for it. So okay, so let me go back and show it again. So over here, what you can see that we sort of support three kind of CI. One is a CI uh, which is on Devtron, which I'm gonna create. Another CI is wherein I'm saying that the CI is created on Devtron, uh, but this application is gonna use the existing CI of Devtron. It's not a new CI which is to be created. Why is this required? This is required when same source code is to be used across multiple applications. Then you don't want to do CI every time. You would want the same CI image to be used across those multiple applications. And that is where we use link CI. And then, of course, you have the incoming webhook when you, let's say, want to connect with the existing Jenkins or something, right? So over here, I'll do a branch fix and master. We have an advanced option. In advanced option, I can provide a script which is to be run before the build happens, and a script which is to happen after the build happens, right? I just need to sort of activate the scan for vulnerabilities. Once I do it, it will scan the image for any vulnerability that might be present in the system. So I did a CI, then I just need to create a CD. In the CD, I'm just saying that, okay, which is the environment where I want it to be deployed. And as I was saying over here, we support the blue, green, and canary deployment. So what you need to do is you just need to say that which deployment you want. So let's say you want a blue, green deployment. You just select a blue, green deployment. In the advanced, there are a couple of optimizations or specific configurations that you can do. But for now, I'm not going to touch it. I'll just say that, okay, blue, green is to be done. And then I do a create pipeline. And CI and CD steps are configured. If I want to create a config map or a secret, I can just go over here. I can add config maps. I can go to secrets. I can add secrets. We support like Vault and AWS currently as an external secret manager. If I want to override deployment template or secret which has been created at a global level, I can do that over here. I can add a new config map or environment or secret also for this particular environment, or I can go ahead and override this particular template. And for example, let's say in QA environment, I may want to use less RAM, less CPU, less replica sets. So all those things I can do over here, right? And then I go to trigger and I do a start build, and this might take some time. So essentially what we do is, as I was saying earlier, so now let me talk about this. So what we do is our CI instances are scaled based on demand. So we don't have our CI instances up always. So what it allows us to do is, one, save a cost when there is no CI which is running. But at the same point of time, these CIs can be scaled up. CI nodes can be scaled up. So whenever there is a requirement, if you are running, let's say, multiple CIs, it will scale up and it will be able to run parallel CIs. And because we are using a centralized caching to put the data, your speed of doing a CI doesn't come down, right? If you believe that most of the time CI is happening within your ecosystem, then what you can do is you can put the minimum count for having CI nodes greater than 0, right? So you may have like 1 or 2 nodes of CI always up and available. So this will sort of allow you to sort of have a reduced startup time, which I'm having right now. So it is showing me that there are the nodes which are available are not sufficient. So it's going to scale them up. Once it scales them up, then the CI will run on it, right? So it's going to take some time. I think I'll go to another demo to show how things will look once that happens. So if I could. Right. So over here, I had run the CI, right? So over here, if you see the CI succeeded, you can see the logs over here. You can see like for which particular Git hash the CI ran, what were the changes in this particular Git hash, the artifacts which were generated. If you had any reports, test reports or others, they'll be available for download over here. We are again working on a functionality which will allow you to sort of visualize those test reports on us. This is the security for this particular image. Security scan was not enabled. For this particular image before, so for this CI, I had enabled the security. For this particular CI, I had disabled the security again. So if you look over here, so this will show the, wrong one. So this will show the results of the security scan. So it is saying there are two critical bugs which were found in it. Right. This is the information, and what were the other moderators and other bugs which were available over here. And when I go for deployment, again the same things are available over here, right? So because when this image was run, at that point of time, security scanning was enabled, and because it find out the security issues, it is not allowing me to select this image. Even after I have changed the security settings, it will not allow me to select that particular image because that image had an issue based on the configuration which was done at that point of time. And again, over here you can see what are the issues, and you exactly see over here that even though this is a critical, but this is whitelisted. So this is not the one which is blocking it. This is the one which is blocking it because if you see, the policy is blocked, right? So this is the critical vulnerability which is blocking this deployment, not this one. So you see this information, so you can select this one and you can say that I want to deploy this. It's already running. It has, so basically this configuration are already deployed, and that's why deployment happened very fast, because it was the same configuration which I pushed again, right? So over here you see these application metrics, throughput, latency, and everything over here. Right now there is no traffic. This is a demo app that I've created. There is no traffic, and memory requirements are very, very low, almost zero. So that's why you are not seeing any data over here. It's still consuming some CPU. It's a node application. That's why you are seeing the CPU data over here. Throughput, latency, again, you are not seeing because there is no traffic currently on it. You can go to the pod. So these are the different components which has been installed through this application. You can go to terminal and check things if you want to. So I'm in the demo app. As I said, there is an envoy which is running on it. So if I say HTTP, not even HTTP, so it's running on local host 9901/stats/Prometheus. So it starts. Okay, I wrote it wrong. Local host 9901 stats Prometheus. So this gets downloaded over here, and this is the one which is being scraped to show you the. So this is the data. So this is the one which is being scraped to show you the throughput and the latency, right? So service monitors are installed, which we sort of scrape them and show this information to you. Again, over here, logs, we support grep functionality, so you don't have to go anywhere. You can just say grep no. So it will just start showing me this. I can do a further grep, say grep 4, right? So it also supports -a, -b. So I can say I want to see 2 lines after 12 lines, or 2 lines after no. It will do that. So you don't have to do a kubectl to know different things, right? So everything integrated about this application available over here, so that you don't have to worry about it, right? So I have covered with this. I have covered blue-green canary deployment. I have covered integrated observability. I have covered central caching, uniform access management. So now I'll just show you quickly about the Hibernation. So this over here is scale pods to 0. If I click on it, it will hibernate the app. We have completed the development of time-based hibernation, and which we call a winter soldier. It's an operator. It's a CRD, essentially a controller which sits over there. There is a particular CRD which it listens to. You can schedule time over there, so you can say that every Friday from 8 p.m. to Monday 6 p.m. I want this whole namespace to be hibernated, or these particular applications or deployments to be hibernated, or these applications are or this namespace to be hibernated, but these applications should not be hibernated, right? So you can do a time-based configuration as to what and when should be hibernated. So the development for that is done. It's going to be made live next week. For the open source community, it would take some more time for us to integrate it with our Devtron. The way we have built it right now, you can just use it without using Devtron. As I was saying, so we are building it in a modular fashion. Even if you're not using Devtron, you can just use that. So that's Hibernate for you. And then the last piece is the hierarchical security policies. Right. So if you go to security policies, of course, these are all the applications which you are seeing which had some security issues with them. And here are the security policies. So as I was saying, we allow you to define security policies in a hierarchical fashion. So you can say that globally, this is what is allowed across all of my clusters. Then you can define exceptions at a cluster level, right? So, or further, you can strengthen the security on a cluster level. For example, if you have critical applications, all critical applications running on, let's say, a set of 2 clusters, then you may further disallow security related things on those particular clusters, right? So here now you are doing a cluster specific things. So it will inherit from global, but it will sort of override them based on what you have configured for cluster. Similarly, you can define for the cluster level, and then it overrides at an environment level, and finally at an application level. So what it allows you to do is, it allows you to have security policies in a saner fashion, right? Because there is inheritance which is happening. So for example, if my payment application has stringent requirements, then I can just override it at an application level and say that for this particular application, these are the policies which are more stricter than policies for other, right? So you don't have to define policy for each application separately. So that's the hierarchical based policy management. Of course, if you are using Devtron, then there is also a validating webhook controller which gets installed and which sort of talks with this system which scans things and which has policies defined on it. And based on that, it applies those policies to every pod which is running in the system. So with that, I think I have rushed through it, but I think within sort of the time limit, I have been able to do a sprint and cover it. I'm not sure how much. Again, there are too many things, right? So I'm not sure how much people would have been able to understand. But as it happens, right, you love your child a lot, and you would sort of keep on bragging about your child whenever you get an opportunity to do it. So same is the case with me, Devtron. I always feel like, okay, what to tell and what not to tell, and I feel like everything should be told. So, but yeah, I'll be more than happy if people would sort of would want to know more, talk more about it, and sort of contribute to the vision, the product map, as well as the feature creation, right? So these are the details about where Devtron is available, where Discord, and which is our Discord channel. We are always available over there. We'll be more than happy if you want to try it out. If you have any questions, you want to get involved by contributing, or as I was saying, or even like helping us refine the roadmap further, or any which ways in which you can sort of help us improving documentation, helping us improve documentation, test cases, right? So more than happy to do that.
I mean, that was a really cool demo. I know it was a bit rushed through, but I, like you said, like you wanted to show all the features and all things, the power, the capabilities of Devtron, and I think people have been really, loving that. And you can actually see from the comments, there are a few questions, but unfortunately today I won't be able to take most of them. If you can take up them in the chat, or you can just post out them
Sure.
as comments, or maybe you can join Discord, so the folks can join Discord and ask those over there, because in another 20 minutes I'm having another stream where I'll be fixing and breaking the clusters with the container solutions team. So it's a Civo Cloud versus kind of container solutions. We are breaking and fixing the clusters on Rock Code Academy.
Right.
Was there with yesterday. So that is pretty interesting. So I'll be there in another 20 minutes, and I have to take my dinner in between that. Just before going, it was a really awesome presentation and demo, to be very
Thank you.
honest, because there are a lot of things that you wanted to cover, and you covered most part of this. And you can see that people have been loving it from the comments that I can see. So yeah, yeah, there was a thing for swag giveaway that I want to do now. So Prashant, there are around 6 people who have actively tweeted. So do we want to give to 5, or we can just give away to 6 of them?
We can do it for 6.
Okay,
That's
so
okay.
I'm just posting the name of the folks who were active. So Viraj Bise, Abhinav Dubey, Avinash Upadhyay, Braja Sundar Mishra, and Hirok Jyoti Datta and Rasil. So please reach out to me and give me your email ID so that I can reach out to Devtron team and give them your email IDs and name, and then they'll reach out to you for your mailing information and send you the swags. So congratulations to all of you, and thank you for live tweeting and what all you learned and you were learning during the stream. Thank you so much for tuning in. And also, Prashant, can you give the Discord link in the private chat so that I can paste
Sure, I'll
that?
do that.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, just make sure Viraj, Abhinav, Avinash, Braja, Hirojyoti, and Russell to please reach out to me on Twitter DM or Kubernetes Slack, anywhere, and send me your email IDs so that I can, give them to Devtron team. Else, I won't be able to help with Slacks. And here is the Discord and white, so make sure you join it, because I think the product is developing really fast, and it's the right time that you can pitch in, give your suggestions, inputs, and make it even more better with your contributions. So let's make this first of all, use it, because that's where you will feel the power of the product. So use it and see where and all you are getting the power, right blogs, and see, tell the team what you are feeling it, and tell the team where you think things are lacking, and then you start off with the issues, how you can contribute and get involved. So I think that's what you can do, and I would definitely try out Devtron and see how we can integrate with Sivo Cloud, and work more closely. Definitely, I'll reach out to the Devtron team after that. And thank you again, Prashant, for your time, and
Thanks a
really
lot.
glad to have you. Definitely, we'll be having a lot
Same
more
here.
conversations after this.
Sure. Thank you. Thanks a lot, Sayam, for having me.
Thank
And
you
thank you,
all.
team.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone.